There's a particular trend in dark fantasy like Game of Thrones or the First Law trilogy, where the protagonists think they're in a more heroic setting, only for pragmatic villains like Tywin Lannister or the wizard Baez to teach them a lesson by driving them into the ground. A big part of Game of Thrones is how House Stark starts the series acting like they're from a completely different setting, and the amount of damage that causes to them over time. So what happens when you reverse that? What happens when the villains are the ones who believe in honor and chivalry, and the hero is the scrappy bastard who's willing to kill anyone to achieve his goals? In this week's video, we examine a truly dark fantasy. If you're squeamish or easily frightened, proceed at your own risk. Hello everyone, welcome to the Book Cafe, where we review books, talk fantasy, and interview industry professionals. If you're a first-time viewer, I invite you to subscribe, and if you're a veteran, welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing a book that is best described as what happens when you cross George R.R. Martin with Batman. Mark Lawrence's Prince of Thorns. The main character, who cannot properly be called a hero, is Prince Honoris Jorg Ancraft, heir to the throne of the Kingdom of Ancraft, who spent the last 5 years as an absolutely brutal bandit in his own lands. When he was young, his mother and younger brother were murdered by assassins from a rival kingdom, and he was forced to watch bleeding out from inside a thorn bush. When his father elected to make peace instead of seeking revenge, Jorg broke into the dungeons, freed everyone, declared that they all owed him their lives, and commanded him to help him invade the kingdom of the man who killed his family. Everything about the Prince of Thorns is set up to be vaguely unsettling. While Jorg has a similar origin and temperament to Batman, Jorg does not have limits. He absolutely revels in bloodshed. He kills enemy and friend alike. Anytime he feels himself getting attached to someone, he will murder them so that he doesn't become weak. And he and his men unapologetically exemplify the worst parts of medieval warfare. Magic in this setting is very definitely evil. Ghosts and zombies are practically everywhere, while court magicians play with memories and minds, seeking pawns in a war that's lasted over 100 years. But the most unsettling part of it is the slow realization that this isn't an alternate world. The Prince of Thorns is set in what used to be France, after a nuclear war so devastating it tore open the gates of hell. Their castles are the ruins of skyscrapers or military bases. Their monsters are humans that have been genetically engineered or poisoned by radiation. And Jorg blithely detonates a nuclear bomb underneath his enemies without actually knowing what it does. This is a world unlike Westeros. On the surface, it does run on the code of chivalry, and Jorg is charging through it like a howitzer round through bone. And the fact that Lawrence manages to make him sympathetic, even while he is so obviously evil, is an astounding feat of character building. Because Jorg is so stubborn, he's one of the few people willing and able to cut through the veneer of civility and attack the evil lying underneath their society. He turns their own tactics against them. Despite the fact that Jorg is one of the most evil characters I've read lately, somehow his villains manage to be worse, even when he nonchalantly murders hundreds of innocents, because the alternative is somehow worse. Overall, I really enjoyed this book, and I would rate it at buy it new. As I said at the beginning, Prince of Thorns is not for the faint of heart, but if you've got a strong stomach and you enjoy dark fantasy, definitely pick it up. Definitely read it. This book puts Game of Thrones to shame. Have you read Prince of Thorns? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to show it by clicking the like button. Click here on the dragon to subscribe, or here for more videos like this from the Book Cafe. I will see everyone on Wednesday, and until then, read good fantasy.